persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Said Martin Luther King Jr., a man who led and rested with empathy.
The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Ask yourself, what can I do for them? Said Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, a man whose life was spent in service of others.
With these grave questions in our hearts, we commence day 2 of our leadership summit. Be your light, unlock the power within you. Namaste to everyone present here. It is an extreme honor to introduce our esteemed speaker panel for today's event. I welcome former Chief of Staff of the Indian Army, General V.P. Malik. Former IAS officer and TEDx speaker, Shri Vivek Atray ji. Former ADGP Haryana and IPS officer, Shri V.K. Kapoor. Former Advocate General, Punjab and Haryana, Shri M.L. Sarin.
Valuable members of our School Kendra Committee, Honorable Madam Principal, Mrs. Gulshan Kaur, teachers, and our audience for today, our fellow Bhavanites.
There would be nothing better than to seek the choices of blessings of Ma Saraswati today. So for seeking the choices of these blessings, I would request our admirable panel, respected school management, to come forward and kindly light the lamp. I request Madam Principal to kindly escort them as well. May the light that we invoke here keep illuminating our hearts forever.
Be your light, unlock the power within you. This summit has been launched to introduce such eminent leaders to our students who will share their inspiring journeys of becoming leaders of the changing world. The motto of the event is Atma Deepa Bhava, sets to ignite acquiring lessons through life experiences, because we truly believe that a leader proves by his own example and inspires others. Our panel consists of such eminent leaders.
And before I delve deeper into the introduction of our speakers, I would like to take a moment and tell you about our great institution, Bhavan Vidyalaya Panchkula. Founded by Sri K.M. Munshi in 1938, the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan has grown into a national and international organization, which is recognized as one of the most leading institutions in the field of education, art, literature, and culture. The Bhavan has centers known as Kendras all over the country and abroad. There are over 100 Kendras and over 3 lakh of students in the various institutions of Bhavan. Now coming to Bhavan Vidyalaya Panchkula, which was inaugurated by Bharat Ratna late Sri C. Subramaniam in the year 1994, Bhavan Vidyalaya is the first in the state of Haryana. Here's a video that will show you a few glimpses of our institution.
Bhavan Vidyalaya Panchkula, established in 1994, inaugurated by Bharat Ratna late Sri C. Subramaniam under the able leadership of the founding chairman Shri Kulwant Singh, retired Chief Secretary, Haryana. It is the first constituent institution of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan in the state of Haryana. The Vidyalaya is a co-educational English medium school affiliated to CBSE, located on a sprawling 5 acres plot in Panchkula city.
पंचकुला हरियाणा के सर्वाधिक सुनियोजित शहरों में से एक है, जो हिमालय की शिवालिक श्रेणियों की तराई में स्थित है। पंचकुला चंडीगढ़ और मोहाली सामूहिक तौर पर ट्राई सिटी के नाम से जाने जाते हैं। पंचकुला हरियाणा राज्य की प्रशासनिक राजधानी भी है। शहर के अधिकतर लोग सर्विस क्लास हैं। वे अपने बच्चों को श्रेष्ठ व सर्वोत्तम शिक्षा देने के महत्वाकांक्षी हैं, ताकि वे अपने आने वाले जीवन में अपनी सफल आजीविका कमा सकें और आर्थिक रूप से सुदृढ़ हो सके। और हमारा विद्यालय संपूर्ण मूल्यों पर आधारित श्रेष्ठ शिक्षा देकर इस पवित्र उद्देश्य को पूरा करता है। वह शिक्षा जिसकी जड़ें विश्वव्यापी परिप्रेक्ष्य के साथ भारतीय संस्कृति में फैली हुई है।
The school aspires to keep alive the Bhavan's faith set forth by the great visionary, late Dr. K.M. Munshi, of reintegrating Indian culture and holding fast to the fundamental values for which it stands. Bhavan believes that the aim of the education is to facilitate learning by crafting learning experiences which brings out the unique potentials of an individual.
हम भवन में विद्यार्थियों के अति संवेदनशील और शीघ्र प्रभावित होने वाले मस्तिष्क को भारतीय संस्कृति एवं मूल्यों द्वारा पोषित करते हैं, जो कि उन्हें जागरूक, जिज्ञासु, रचनात्मक, आत्मविश्वासी, वैश्विक नागरिक बनने की शक्ति प्रदान करते हैं और एक सुरक्षित, सकारात्मक, प्रगतिशील, स्वास्थ्यप्रद, पर्यावरण अनुकूल, बौद्धिक एवं पूर्णतावादी ज्ञानार्जन करने का वातावरण देकर उन्हें जीवन की सभी चुनौतियों का सामना करने में सक्षम बनाते हैं।
The school has carved out a niche for itself on the educational scenario with high academic standards and excellence in various co-curricular activities. The keen and active young minds are encouraged to think, analyze, create, and express. preparing good citizens and leaders for tomorrow. Even while facing the challenges posed by the pandemic, our learners have proven their mettle in various events and competitions. Our students have marked their place among the top innovators of India under the Atal Space Challenge. Young Bhavanites are representing themselves as delegates in the World Teen Parliament. The Quality Circle research projects of our students are internationally acclaimed and benchmarked. The pedagogies followed in our school are included in the courses offered by Ministry of Education under Nishtha portal.
आनो भद्रा क्रत्वो यंतो विश्वतः, अर्थात चारों दिशाओं से नेक विचार प्रवेश करने। हमारा विद्यालय इस उद्देश्य के साथ कार्यरत है। भवन विद्यालय विद्यार्थियों को वे मूल्य प्रदान करता है जिन्हें हमने आज तक संजोया हुआ है, संभाला हुआ है।
The actions of a great man provide inspiration to others. Whatever he does become a standard for them to follow. The famous quote from Bhagavad Gita defines the personality of our honorable chairman sir in its true spirit. Shri Kulwant Singh Ji, founder chairman, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan's Bhavan Vidyalaya Panchkula. Shri Kulwant Singh Ji epitomized the pioneering spirit of man. His exceptional leadership qualities, dynamism, courage of conviction, and unwavering commitment to excellence continues to guide and inspire us. He is a great visionary who will always be an exemplary role model for us and will always motivate us to achieve the impossible and strive to transform our dreams into reality. A cheering force to take Bhavans where it stands today. We are eternally thankful to you and your team, our founder chairman, Lala Amarnath Agrawal ji, Rajkumar Gupta ji, and many other notable members who have actualized their vision to succeed. Thank you for unending guidance and constant support and doing all that is required to take the institution in its zenith.
Coming back to our honored guests, General V.P. Malik, who, as I said before, has served as the Chief of Staff of the Indian Army during the crucial time of Kargil War. He has served the Indian Army for more than 40 years. He is the recipient of Param Vishisht Seva Medal, which is a military medal awarded by the Government of India in recognition of peacetime service of the most exceptional order, along with many other gallantry awards. He is also a published author and has penned Kargil from Surprise to Victory. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for General V.P. Malik. Next, we have Shri Vivek Atray ji, former IAS officer, 8 times TEDx speaker. He is he's one of the most renowned speakers of India and visiting professor to well-known institutions. His talks have garnered over 3 million views on YouTube. He has held workshops for various companies like Infosys, Trident, Hindustan Times, and many more. He is also a published author and a recurring columnist for publications such as the likes of Hindustan Times. Shri V.K. Kapoor, sir, former IPS officer who has served as the Additional Director General of Police Haryana. He has handled many prominent and sensitive assignments handled by the Government of India and managed the visits of various international dignitaries, including heads of states of US, Russia, and many more. For his exemplary services, he has been awarded with police medals for distinguished services and meritorious services. He currently serves as the coordinator of NALSA schemes. Again, a huge round of applause for Mr. V.K. Kapoor. And we have Mr. M.L. Sarin with us, fondly called as Max Sarin, former Advocate General Punjab and Haryana. He is also the president of St. John's Old Boys Association. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for him as well.
A think tank named Suvichar has been set up by like-minded individuals with headquarters in Chandigarh. Suvichar is a forum for experienced persons who have insight into various key sectors that are an integral part of society's functioning. Suvichar seeks to give back society inputs and guideposts that can enhance the ability of people to deal with plethora of issues and also to provide through leadership in certain areas.
We are lucky enough to have some of the members of Suvichar, the think tank, along with us today. The founder members of Suvichar, General V.P. Malik, M.L. Sarin, Neelam Mansingh, V.K. Kapoor, Vivek Atray constitute of some of the founding members of Suvichar. I hope the speakers will be touching upon this in their speeches as well. Now, without any delay, let's move on to our theme for today. But showing is a better way than speaking, right? So here's a short video prepared by our student team that will highlight our topic of the day.
When we empathize with someone, we have the power to change the game. By reflecting back the feeling that we see the person having, we show them that they have been understood, deeply understood. By reflecting back their circumstances in plain words, we help them to step back and regain perspective. And importantly, the belief that they can repair their own situation for themselves. When all's said and done, sympathy can actually feel nice for a bit. But when it comes to getting to a solution, only empathy has the power to get someone up and running again.
And isn't that what all of us want? To be seen and heard and to have our needs responded to. That's the essence of empathy.
Empathy has always been a critical skill for leaders, and we need it now more than ever. It has taken a new meaning, far more than that of a soft skill. Here, we would like to invite our student representatives, Shaurya from class 12th, followed by Sanchi and Rahmat from class 10th, to throw some light on today's topic. Over to you guys.
A very warm namaste to one and all present here. As Oprah Winfrey rightly said, leadership is about empathy. It is about relating to and connecting with people for the purpose of inspiring and empowering them. Empathy has always been a critical skill for leaders, but it is taking on a new meaning and priority in our lives. It is important to understand what is empathy and why is it important, because only then can we imbibe it in our lives. Demonstrating empathy has always been a positive skill for people, but latest researches have shown that it is more important than we ever thought it to be, in everywhere from innovation to attention. Empathetic leadership means having the ability to understand the feelings of others, the needs of others, and being able to relate with them. Unfortunately, it has long been considered as a soft skill and overlooked as a performance indicator. An empathetic leader is one who has a genuine interest in their team members' lives, the challenges they face, and the feelings they have. This kind of a leader makes an effort to understand the situations that they have and are going through in order to offer help and support. A leader that shows empathy to their team will have a team that shows empathy and trust from inside out. This truth is an empathetic leadership style, brings great benefits that can help the team. This practice builds trust and a feeling of belongingness towards the team and will accrue a great relationship and further down the line, great success. Just as Max Weber puts forth an empathetic or feeling with understanding of physiology, we need to bring empathy to the forefront of leadership. It is imperative that we, as the future leaders of tomorrow, are able to demonstrate this skill of empathetic leadership. It is only then can we truly become leaders of the people, by the people, and for the people. But the question that now arises is, how do we practice empathetic leadership and make it a part of ourselves? Thank you.
Now we have Rehmat from class 10th.
Namaste everyone, I am Rehmat from class 10th, and at the risk of death by cliche, I'm going to share what we all keep on saying but actually fail to practice, which is looking at the situation from the other person's perspective. Because traveling that road from seeing to feeling the other person's problem is what makes one an effective leader. Effective being the key word here. We tend to take the easy way out, don't we? We have this kind of behavior for starving children in the info commercials, the have-nots on the streets, or for that one friend who scored less than us this year. Because sympathy and pity is as easy as it comes from a position of power. But empathy is actually getting down on your knees and looking that person in the eye and realizing that you could be them in seconds, and all that actually separates you is luck. So to become that leader that our youth needs in the 21st century, empathy is required. Because a new perspective is necessary to see the world as it needs to be seen and not as what you'd like it to be. But the question that arises here is, how do we actually take that first step towards inculcating empathy-driven leadership in our lives? Thank you.
Last but not the least, we have Sanchi.
A warm namaste to everyone present here. I am Sanchi Goyal of class 10th F. We all use the word "the" a lot in our lives. But what if I ask you what it means? Well, that will be really difficult to answer. Now, what if I ask you what leadership is? If I ask each one of in this room, I would probably get 100 different answers. Whenever we think of leadership, we think of some great individual, a grand being in front of us, loaded with achievements. But that's not how it is. This reminds me of the time I was buying snacks at a store. There was this little girl beside me muttering about a lollipop that she wanted, so I decided I should help her out. I gave her a lollipop and asked if that was the one she wanted. She agreed and paid. When I got out of the store, she thanked me. It was nothing big, but she told me that she suffered from social anxiety and maybe she wouldn't have been able to buy it if no one helped her. I was surprised that something so little was able to help someone out, and this is probably my proudest moment. So the main aspect of leadership is empathy. We have all had a lollipop moment where we have helped someone out unexpectedly. It is something that makes us human. The small acts of kindness we do each day, how we feel each other's pain and aid them accordingly, how we help others confidently voice their opinions. That is empathy-driven leadership. We reach out to someone who isn't us. Beautiful, isn't it? Well, now, this beauty is being killed, and the question arises, why empathy is a required leadership skill in a world where everyone has themselves to look after. Thank you, and have a prosperous day.
We'd like to thank our student representatives for providing us insights about how students use empathy and wishes to imbibe in their lives.
It is finally the time that you all have been waiting for. Our first speaker of the day, Shri Vivek Atray sir. Now, while I was preparing for this, I fondly remembered the time I met Mr. Atray sir first. It was 2019 and our school had organized a trip to the Literati Festival. I remember fondly sitting in the first row, trying to get and just learn everything that was going on. And Mr. Atray was sitting right next to me. I remember having many questions, and he saw that I had questions, and he asked me, "Do you want me to answer anything?" So I asked him all those many questions. And to my surprise, in the next 20 minutes, he was there on the stage as the next speaker. So that is how I remember Mr. Atray, all ever approaching and ever smiling. Sir, kindly come here and enlighten us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambika and Nirmit. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, Gulshan ma'am, for inviting us. Respected General Malik, Mr. Max Sarin, Mr. V.K. Kapoor, Colonel Cheema, Afan, Anshuman, Harshi. We are a delegation from Suvichar, which is a think tank, as you saw on the placard. And we're delighted to be here once more, because once before, Suvichar had been here for a seminar, and General Malik was there as well that day. It was about 4 years ago. I think we had the topic of sports that day. And just like today, we had 3 speakers from the students, and then we had about 3 or 4 speakers from Suvichar. And we discussed threadbare that day how sports can be made more successful in India, more people can be involved. I know that your school is very good at sports and you have great facilities. I'm also very impressed with the level of oration of the students who spoke, and the 2 of them here. They speak so well. A very proud moment for me as a speaker to hear such brilliant oration on stage. There's clarity, there is absolutely very good content, and we even had an American accent. So that was also very nice. The thing is that this lollipop, which has been discussed already, that lollipop is limited in its capacity and scope, and there are lots of seekers for that lollipop. If you look at the whole world as a lollipop, then the resources are scarce and the number of people are large. So there cannot be equitable distribution of wealth and resources. And if there cannot be equitable distribution, then somebody has to help somebody else. I mean, if we are 6 children in a family and we all get 2 parathas each or something like that, then there's no need for redistribution. But in the world, it doesn't work that way. There are the haves and the have-nots, and Mr. Kapoor will mention, I hope, in his speech, or I'll say, he says there's India and there's Mother India. So we are India sitting in this hall with the benefit of air conditioning, and we're speaking in English. We are intellectuals in a way. All of you students are definitely intellectual. So the thing is that there are people out there who don't have the access to resources, education, healthcare, which our society is not able to distribute in an equitable manner. It's not possible in a country like India especially. It's very difficult. So when the topic is empathy, that means that those with resources have to have empathy for those without resources. Those who are educated have to have empathy for those who are not educated. Those who can have to help others. And the first step is to stop thinking only of yourself. If we are egocentric, and ego doesn't mean that I think too much of myself, it also means that I'm self-centered. It means me all the time. Then how can I have empathy for others if all I'm thinking of is my marks, my cricket bat, my pizza, my delivery, my this and my that? So if students of this section of society can start thinking of those who are not as fortunate, you can really make a mark. So first, to stop thinking only of yourself is the first step towards being empathetic towards others. And a very important part of that is being grateful for what you have. If you're thankful for what you have, then you will be able to realize that you are grateful to your parents and society and the school and your teachers and your friends, and then you will think of others and try and spend time. It's not only money that you give back to society. It is time, effort, knowledge, and maybe even financial contribution that you can give back. But to listen to someone who wants to be heard, an elderly eye, an elderly ear, an elderly voice, spending time with that elderly person is empathy. You wish you could be with your friends or, surfing Instagram for 3 hours. Right? The thing is that if we spend that adha ghanta or 45 minutes with Nani, Dadi or someone else, they feel joyful. That is empathy for the elderly. In such ways, you can make a mark in people's lives, which otherwise you cannot. And as I said, part of it is being grateful for what you have. So I'll tell you a little story. It's not a long speech, but I'll tell you one story at least. So there was a Mr. Pedro, and those who are grown up know there are many types of Pedro jokes, but this Pedro was a little thankless in his manner, in his ways. He was about 20-something year old. He gets a call for an interview. Finally, he's jobless at the moment. And he needs to get that job. So he reaches that place, but he's borrowed somebody's car, a friend's car. And this is New York or New Delhi or Bombay, wherever it is. Chandigarh also, where you don't find parking very easily. So he reaches at 11 a.m. or 5 to 11, the appointed time. But he can't find a parking, so he keeps driving around the block. And for 20 minutes, he can't find a parking. He can't leave the car on the road. It's borrowed from someone else. And the police will pick it up. So finally, Pedro decides that he needs help after 20 or 25 minutes, because if he doesn't reach the interview, he loses the opportunity. He looks up at God, or wherever God is. He looks up. Maybe he should have looked within. He says, God, please help me find a parking. I'll give up drinking from tonight. Give up liquor from tonight. Suddenly he finds a parking. He parks the car, slams the door, rushes towards the interview, looks up again and says, God, never mind, I found a parking. Who found the parking? Pedro thinks he found the parking. He doesn't have to give up alcohol now. Right? Thankless. Ungrateful. Sometimes that red light turns green just when you want it to turn green because you're getting late for school. And your papa, mama are driving fast anyway. Right? Carpooling. I've done carpooling with friends when my kids were small. And we're all in a tizzy. And that green light, who do you thank? You can thank the JE who timed it accordingly, or you can thank God. So you become thankful. If you become thankful, then you start thinking of others as well. Leadership with empathy is about being humble and thinking of others and taking your team along. And there's a very beautiful quote somewhere, be your own light, unlock the power within, the power of you. If you can be your own light, that means you're emitting those vibrations which others need to receive from a leader. And you are the role model which you expect others to be. So you have to be a role model to be a good leader. And if they see that you are arrogant or uptight or snappy or angry at every drop of the hat, then that means you're not a good leader at all. If you are understanding, you listen, you care, you are firm. You can be firm, but you're also accessible to others and you listen to others. You have understanding. That is the way that a good leader succeeds. There are many more senior people than me here to speak, so I won't speak anymore on this subject. And we have a battery of luminaries from Suvichar, the think tank. You heard about Suvichar in the beginning. I'm very grateful to ma'am for organizing this leadership summit in collaboration with Suvichar. And any of you who want to know more about Suvichar, you can write to us or find our details. We have Anshuman and Harshi here in the second row who are also available for a while. You can ask them if you want to intern with Suvichar or want to learn more about how to help society later. So I'd like to thank the principal for organizing this seminar. I'd like to thank all the speakers, the student speakers, and all those who are present here, and especially the members of Suvichar, General Malik, Mr. Sarin and Mr. Kapoor for being here, and also Mr. Kulwant Singh and Mrs. Kulwant Singh who are in the hall, in the premises. And I'm very grateful once again. Thank you.
I invite Mr. V.K. Kapoor to kindly take the stage. A huge round of applause for Mr. V.K. Kapoor.
General Malik, Vivek, Mr. Sarin, and Cheema, and the young faces, I see the future of India sitting here, you see. The future generals, the future politicians, the future doctors, it's all sitting here. Once upon a time, you were also like that, you see. And then I became a cop, he became general, and he became this thing. The world has always belonged to the young people, you see. And the world has always belonged to the courageous people. What matters is thought. If your thought is good, and it is a thought determines everything. Had Mahatma Gandhi not been thrown out of because he was Indian, he would never thought of it. Then the whole movement started, and he says, no, these people must go. Same thing with Bhagat Singh. So your thought is the most important thing. Thought, a positive thought, positivity. And courage, you will have so many problems. Life is full of problems. And two things, because I will not take a long time, faith on God and faith on your own self. Faith on God, you are born, you are wise, we are sitting here. As Vivek said, I generally use this word India and Mother India. This is India, you see, God is kind, we are your parents, you're there, and then you have very good school. You come here and you learn, and you are very good speakers, you are interacting at such a young age, you are interacting with all sorts of people, and then you have the capacity to go up. And you will go up. And there you need 2-3 things to go up in life. That is courage, hard work. And now my only advice to young students is keep your habits clean. Keep your habits clean. Because we all get tempted to do things, you see, but keep your habits clean. And for that, if you keep your thoughts clean, you will go up in life. And people connect you. You see, connecting with people is the main thing. Mahatma Gandhi connected with people, you see, and everybody, because he was Mahatma, because they called him Mahatma. Because of the integrity. What are the biggest qualities of Mahatma Gandhi? Integrity. Your integrity, your courage. Bhagat Singh is courage. I've been a police officer, I've seen all sorts of things. Because life at ground zero is very difficult, very hard. But you have to work up. And you can work up. How do you work up? You see, quality matters. Quality matters in all walks of life. You like to go to the best doctor. You like to go to the best eye specialist. You like to go to the best lawyer when you need. So I think the quality matters in life. And for that, you have to improve yourself. Nobody can do it. We can all come here and teach you this thing. And ultimately, it is your own work. It is your own work which is there. And your own character, you see, which will attract people. And you have to connect with people. If you are compassionate. Because life at ground zero is very, very difficult as you are learning here. So you have to thank the God. So I say you thank the Lord that you are born there, you are getting good schooling, you are getting good teachers, you are getting good speakers, you have got places, and then you have to work hard. So ultimately you are responsible. As you know, as a ride on a truck, swari apne maal asbab ki khud zimmedar hai. You people are all responsible. We all are responsible for our own conduct, and out of you people, the best will come. Quality matters. General V.P. Malik is sitting here, that is the best general, he was there, we got it into the other things, you see. So quality matters everywhere, and hard work, your integrity, and connecting with people. And you should be helpful by nature, generally helpful, because God is there, He is helping you. He has put you in a position to help other people, you know. So, work hard, do best, may God bless you with the best of everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for reminding us that quality indeed matters and that God is kind, so kind enough that we are present here among such dignitaries. Now, finally, I invite Mr. M.L. Sarin to kindly take the stage. A huge round of applause for Mr. Sarin, everyone.
Good afternoon, my very special students. I have to start by complimenting Madam Principal. You have an outstanding lot of young men and women in this hall. And they have displayed their qualities by just speaking so well. Includes all of you. You have a very bright future ahead of you. Now it is in school that leadership qualities are recognized, and you are trained and you become leaders in society. But I would like to add something which is so very basic. You need leaders in the armed forces, you need leaders in the police, you need leaders in the IAS. You also need leaders in the legal profession. But we don't have any ranked leaders. So we have to find them. How do we find them? Leaders out who are dealing with lawyers, with clients, with clerks, with criminals, each type of person. So you have to deal with them, and your capacity to deal with such a person brings out the leaders. Now, this is so important. In society, we have to recognize leaders. And I'm going to share 3 words with you, which are very, very important in selecting a leader and bringing out the best in him so that you can empathize with them. The 3 words are please, thank you, and sorry. I'm extremely disturbed, but these words are so rarely used in our society. Nobody on the dining table, most places will even say, please, may I have a bit of your dal, please? Please, may I have that? These are the small things which bring out the leadership qualities. And then, of course, the moment the dal is passed to you, you're saying thank you. And if accidentally you spill it, you have to say sorry. Now, these 3 words bring out what special quality is. And if you use them, and especially while dealing with people who are not as privileged as all of you are in this hall, dealing with your cleaning girl, your cook, your driver, your washing person, if you don't deal with them and give them the dignity that they deserve, you will never bring out the leadership qualities in them, and you will never be able to empathize with them. So if you treat the people who are not as fortunate as you are with empathy, by using just polite words, it changes the whole world. And the moment you say please, or in Hindi, ji, to a person who's just washed your car, believe me, he'll come up and share his problems with you, and that is when you have an opportunity to empathize with him and get the best out of him. Now, on a similar basis, I was introduced as the founder or the past president of Sajova, that's the St. John's Old Boys Association. We had a young man called Ran Vijay. He was an extremely nice person. And at the lunch break, everybody brings their tiffin along. Somebody has a sandwich, somebody has a paronta, somebody has dal roti. While the boys were fighting for each other's or trying to share it with others, Ran Vijay would be in the playing fields, looking for the laborers or the Mali's children, making sure, have they had lunch? He would feed them before he ate his own lunch. Unfortunately, he died prematurely about 10 years ago. His classmate, Sandeep Goyal, who is a top-notch tycoon in the advertisement in the business of India, he's just rebought Rediff. He's doing marvelously well. He started an award in St. John's called the nicest boy of St. John's in class 10 and class 12. I'm sharing it with you for a purpose, because that is one way of bringing out these very special qualities in young men and young women. And who's the nicest boy? It's not a person who stood first, it's not a person who's won a race or tennis championship or football, etc. It's the person who has treated everyone nicely in the school. And the method of determining that is by putting it to vote amongst his own classmates, amongst his teachers, amongst the administrative staff of the school, amongst the class 4 staff of the school. And lo and behold, you find people who you never expect them to be. So one of the years, we had the son of our gardener winning the class 10 award, and the son of an IAS officer winning the class 10, the higher class. So it is in amongst each one of us. If we can do that in every school, and I'd love it if you started, I've got them to start in YPS Mohali and hopefully in Bhavan Vidyalaya in Chandigarh, because I've been on the Kendra committee for 23 years. It would be a great thing. And that is my little bit. Remember, tomorrow when you wake up, thank somebody for being alive. At the end of the day, if you have hurt somebody, remember to say sorry. And remember, if you say please, you might wake up the next day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your address and for being so kind enough to share such a personal story with us. I hope that us Bhavanites can also channel such kindness and an inner Ran Vijay from within. We humbly acknowledge the presence of Colonel Cheema with us today, who are also present with us on day 1 of our leadership summit. Everyone kindly acknowledge the presence of Madam Chairman amongst us. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us today. I invite Colonel Cheema to kindly address the event.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. General Malik, sir, Mr. Kapoor, Mr. Maxine, Mr. Vivek Atray, Madam Mrs. Kulwant Singh, and the principal ma'am, and of course my young friends. You see, once I read somewhere that Sir Newton, Isaac Newton, he wrote that if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of greats. Now I am so happy, and I am in such an august company. There are so many greats sitting here in front of me, and if you have to learn, you will be able to learn even from the influence of their silent example. You see, I want to tell you something about the basics of how the word empathy was connected with creativity. Yesterday I was discussing with you about creativity. Edward de Bono, the father of creative learning, he was the first one who thought of training the software of brain for creative learning. He came out with an expression, OPV, others' point of view, and relating that others' point of view, how people can become more creative in empathizing. You see, I have always believed in one thing: if you really want to empathize, I don't find a suitable word in Hindi for empathy. For sympathy, of course, there is one. I don't know whether there is a suitable word for empathy. Empathy is a beautiful word in English language, but equivalent of that in Hindi, I am not sure what it would be. But empathy is that you should be able to help anyone, anytime, anywhere. If you really want to be good, nice to the people, and of course what Mr. Maxine talked about, looking after the people who are from the lower strata of society, are not that privileged as you are. In one of my books, the name of the book is Managing Without MBA. In that, one of the chapters is Learn from the Armed Forces. And General Malik sir is sitting here. There can be no better example than an armed officer leader, seniors, officers, havaldars, and JSUs and all, looking after their men. Let me share with you, I'll just take 2 minutes, sir, 2 minutes more. You see, in 1986, I was commanding a battalion at Leh, and that time there was no other division except one division, and we were looking after the two adversaries, China as well as Pakistan. So my EME battalion, normally it is about 800 men, my battalion had about 1100 men. And there were 10, 12 workshops spread all over that area, huge area to take care of. When I landed there, in the first meeting I told all my company commanders and the 2IC that I want in 1 month each one of you to write down the first name of each and every person in your company, his details of his children, his education, any problems with the children, what school, where, what are they learning, when is the next promotion of this boy there, everything. I mean, I said after 1 month, I'll ask you about 130, 140 men in a company. I'll ask you and I expect you to be able to answer everything about that man, everything about his wife and personal problems. Now that, I think, unless you learn those, unless you know those, the kind of trust which you expect a man to have in you, that will not come. After all, how do you expect a Jawan to go through 100 meters of mines on the order of a Major Saab? You see, how do you expect that a man will, for the kind of training which he has had, the kind of faith he has, and as I always say, leadership is of the spirit. Leadership is of the spirit. How do you touch the inner chord of a person? that spirit, and it is an art. Leadership is not a science. It cannot be calculated. It cannot be manipulated. Management is, a bit of management is also, manipulation, and perhaps it is a science. But leadership is totally, it is of the spirit. And to be able to touch the spirit, you have to be absolutely genuine. Genuine. Be what you are. You can't be fake, and you can't be telling people what you don't mean. So my suggestion to you all is that find time to be good. And I quote here what Abraham Lincoln said. He was asked, what is your religion? He said, when I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. And that is my religion. So goodness, decency, and incidentally, one of my books is being released tomorrow. It is about civility. It is about being kind, good, nice, making the society happier, better. By doing that only. You see, tranquility and peace in the society, Mr. Sarin mentioned the most powerful 4 words in the world are please, thank you, excuse me, sorry. You go abroad and you see everyone using them so often, everyone is smiling. And of course, empathy is also being good by smiling at others. You must carry your smiles wherever you go. If you come across a person in the morning, first time in the morning, there is no harm, even if you don't know the person. In a decent and good way, say good morning to him or her. You would have earned a friend if you are able to do that. But all of us have that, ego. You see, whenever 2 people quarrel, it is not that those 2 persons are fighting. Actually, the egos are fighting, not the 2 persons. So be the first to smile. Welcome, sir. Kindly acknowledge the presence of Mr. Kulwant Singh, our chairperson. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So what I was saying was that being decent, good, nice, polite, civility, it costs nothing and it gives you so much. So the final message is that help anyone, anytime, anywhere. I once wrote a piece, as a matter of fact, in the Speaking Tree. Times of India has a column, Speaking Tree. I wrote in that Speaking Tree that you should be able to help anyone, anytime, anywhere. Thank you very much, young friends. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your address.
We welcome our founder chairman, Shri Kulwant Singh Ji. We feel blessed to have you, sir. He's a retired Chief Secretary, Haryana, who has been a rock and guiding light since the inception of our institution. A big round of applause for sir.
This event would not be complete or a success without the address of a prominent dignitary amongst us, General V.P. Malik, sir. I kindly request you to come forward and give us your address.
Mr. and Mrs. Kulwant Singh, good to have you here, see you here. Despite not feeling so well, you have come here to listen to us. My fellow colleagues from Suvichar, ladies, gentlemen, and dear Bhavanites. Firstly, I must thank the principal and the school management for asking us to join you in your very important summit that you are having on leadership. It has been my, I would say, desire for a very long time that we do not teach leadership adequately in our schools and colleges, because it must become an important subject for all of us. Today we want to see everyone, schools, colleges. Leadership is not just netas or generals or senior policemen. If you have 4 or 5 people under you, somebody has to be a leader. And therefore leadership is important. And I must compliment you for organizing a seminar for 3 days, I believe. For 3 days, you will be discussing various aspects of leadership. The second thing that I want to mention here is that leadership has, and this is based on a research incidentally, and it is also written in Bhagavad Gita somewhere. 25% knowledge, whether it is your books or it is your science, art, or it is technology these days, 25% is that. 75% is how you deal with people, how you talk to people, how you deal with people. Because after all, those 4 or 5 are million people who work under a leader, who support the leader, who become team members of a leader. It's how you deal with them, how you talk to them. And in the army, they always say that the man behind the gun, these days women also, women behind the gun is more important than the gun. So interaction, the way you interact with people, that is an important aspect. And that is important aspect of leadership which you must learn. Now, army, fortunately, is one institution where there is a lot of importance given to the leadership. Right from the time when I joined NDA, then went to Indian Military Academy and passed out from Indian Military Academy there was a lot of emphasis on leadership and the other aspects of leadership. Today, what was empathy is also one aspect of leadership. Firstly, I want you to remember empathy is one of the traits required in a leadership. It's not the only trait. So you put this whole thing in the correct perspective. Empathy is an important trait. Every leader must be empathetic, otherwise he will not be a successful leader. But it is not the only trait. Sometimes deliberately we become angry. Now, when we are talking of empathy, nobody will say that you should become angry. But sometimes as a leader, you do become deliberately because you want to show unhappiness on somebody. But then, as I said, that is an acquired thing. So, leadership is one thing which we have been taught all along in the last Nayak to Nayak, Nayak to Havaldar, Lieutenant to Captain, General, Major General to General. Even as a General, I had to learn, you kept on learning leadership throughout your career. And when we passed out from the Indian Military Academy, there was this credo, Indian Military Academy credo, which said that of all the things, the nation comes first, always and every time. Your motherland comes first, always and the second aspect in that credo was that after that come the men that you command, are your colleagues that you have. That comes second in terms of importance. And you come last and always and every time. Now this credo, which we learned in Indian Military Academy, I kept it with me throughout my career. Even as an army chief, I had written it outside in my office on the wall opposite my table. And also in the visiting room, so that people who came to meet me, they also saw that. So this is an important aspect. And when we talk of your men, the men that you command, nowadays men and women that you command come next after your motherland, that is the importance aspect of empathy comes part of that. Because if you do not empathize with them and you do want to do everything for yourself, obviously you cannot be a successful leader. There is another aspect that I learned from Field Marshal Manekshaw. he was one person, he didn't know many languages. He could speak broken Hindi and broken Punjabi also, because he had studied in school in Amritsar once upon a time. Of course, he was very good in English and also in Gujarati. That was his mother tongue. And Gurkhali, 3 things that he knew. When he met anybody, first that I noticed with him was he always had a smile. His face, you take any photograph, I don't think you will come across any photograph where he's got a sullen face. You know, jo gusse mein ya kaisi, I don't think I saw that ever. You will not see those photographs. And the second thing that I noticed was the man spoke to, whether he was speaking to a king of Bhutan and Nepal, once I was with him on those trips also, or he was speaking to a chaprasi, a peon in our school, in our army headquarters. The man always looked into the eyes of that person. He tried to understand that person. He tried to make out कि आँखों से कि उसके दिल में क्या जा रहा है. Now that is important. And what I learned from him, कि when you look into somebody's eyes, you can make out कि उसके दिल में क्या जा रहा है. You also get to know कि उसके दिल में आपके लिए इज्जत है या नहीं है. So looking into the eyes is an extremely important, because when we are, people have given to you the definition of empathy. Empathy is really reading your mind and to be able to then act compassionately as much as, this is what we are saying. I don't believe that it is a question of rich people being able to help poor. That's not empathy. Empathy can be, a poor person also can be empathetic to somebody who's very rich. You know? So empathy is something, being able to find out in another person's mind and eyes, through eyes, as to what is going on in his, and then talk to him. The other thing is that you learn the ability to also talk to that person's level. Now, obviously, when you are talking to a king, you can't be speaking to him like you do with a chaprasi, because the knowledge difference is quite different. Similarly, if you're speaking to a chaprasi, you will not try to use the language that you used with the kings or the senior leaders. So all that comes with your body language, your ability to look into the eyes of the other person and try and understand that. What is going on in the mind of that? How can you help? How can you do this thing? We used to have meeting with the Prime Minister's office, and in my time in Prime Minister Vajpayee, I am talking of, that man spoke very little. And subsequently when he spoke, तो वो 2 sentences के बीच में, he used to have a gap of 1 minute also sometimes. You know, he was so slow speaker. But all that, he tried to gauge you, tried to find out from you, from your face, कि आप क्या कहने वाले हैं, क्या सोच रहे हैं, all that is. To be able to then, now he would give you the impression कि वो बोलते नहीं हैं, लेकिन whenever he asked a question, you found he was very sharp. He would ask very sharp question. And the other thing I found with him was this business of what can I do for you? Every day after we finished the meeting, or before the meeting, or during the meeting, his words used to be, what can I do for you? He went to see the Jawans lying in the hospitals, and in Srinagar hospital, and somebody who was having a lot of pain, etc., he just asked him, he said, what can I do for you? You know, the doctors were there. So empathy must be correctly understood. It's not a question of rich man doing something good for the poor. It is a question of to be able to empathize with the person. Today, somebody loses a kin because of old age, because of... If you go and empathize with that person, you try and make his pain little lighter. That is also empathy. Now, we had a large number of people who got killed during Kargil war. And my wife and I, we made it a point to go to every officer's house. We couldn't go to every Jawan's house, but large number of Jawans and a large number of course, all officers spread throughout India. Because those 25 officers came from Nagaland, from South India, from North India, from all those areas. We couldn't do very much that time because whatever the government had given, by and large, they had all got it. And you just asked, are you getting everything? But you went primarily to share their grief, to share their the pain that they had suffered, losing their son or brother or, like that. So that is empathy. And I think that is something that each one of us needs to learn. Long ago, we used to hear Voice of America on the radio sets, thing. And one thing which I learned at that time was this compere, the person who used to speak in the morning, she would greet people. She says, if you see someone without a smile, give him or give her yours. I think that is an important aspect. You give him or you give her your smile. So make that part of your habits, make that part of your demeanor, part of your mannerism, part of your personality, and that is what is required today. You don't require any bookish knowledge for that. You just require some practice, keeping this in your mind, and you require in practice. Once again, thank you very much for calling all of us to share our experiences with you. And I have no doubt that with the kind of summit that you are having on leadership, all of you will become good leaders with empathy, which is an important part of leadership. Thank you. Jai Hind.
I thank Sir for such a rich and insightful speech, for telling us about Credo and about how motherland should be a priority, and also telling us about Sam Manekshaw, who I may tell you was the Chief of the Staff of Indian Army during Indo-Pak War of 1971, proving a live example of how one true empathetic leader can only resonate with another. Thank you, sir. Thank you again for being here. Now I open the floor for any questions that students might have. Right. Sir, you can just stand here also. Or we can pass on the mic to whoever wishes to answer as well. Right.
So anyone from the audience who has questions? Yes, Manya.
A huge round of applause for our panel.
I hope you will start thinking of some questions also.
Namaste, sir. My question is for Vivek Atray, sir. How do you judge empathy in a leader?
See, when you're in the presence of someone, what he or she says is not really as important as what he or she is. The whole demeanor, like General Malik said, the aura, the unsaid movement. So, within 20 minutes of being in someone's office, you can probably find out how empathetic this person is. the peon has come with a glass of water, a lady was coming right now with a glass of water. How do I react and respond to her? Mr. Sarin mentioned, do you thank the cleaning lady? I always often used to say that, you ask your office help about his children. गांव में सब ठीक है, बिजली आती है, सड़क वड़क ठीक है. That's what he wants. His Sahab asked me about my village. And for 2 months he'll be in good spirits. So I think empathy is about basically understanding what makes people really tick. And that cannot be financial incentives. It is appreciation which they need and understanding. So I think you can make out a person's personality by the way he or she is with others. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, sir.
There's a question at the end, but he needs to come closer. He's sitting about 1 mile away. Get him here. Get him closer.
Namaste, sir. Sir, my question is that, sir, empathy is something which we have heard and read a lot, but sir, it was hardly practiced by leaders. Sir, but now empathy is seen as an important trait in leaders. Why?
So why do you say it was not practiced by leaders?
Sir, it was hardly practiced.
No, I don't agree with that. There were good leaders, there were bad leaders. Those good leaders always practiced it. And what you have just learned from us is that it's an important leadership trait. So you should be empathetic.
Okay, sir.
Maybe he's talking about politicians. That's what I also feel. That's what Mr. Kulwan thinks. So politicians are not the only leaders, okay? And in fact, if I may say so, there's a question mark there. Yes.
Namaste, sir. My question is to Mr. V.K. Kapoor ji. Talking about leaders, how would you rank the attributes in a leader? Confidence, communication, integrity, and empathy.
Beg your pardon, I didn't get your question. What do you say?
My question is that how would you rank the following attributes in a leader? Communication, confidence, integrity, and empathy.
You see, integrity is most important. Then communication. And then he must understand you. Integrity is number one. And then empathy means sympathizing with you. They will come to know what is your problem. And has that helpful attitude. That generally you feel confident, yes, he can help me. So there are vibes, he can help me. But integrity is number one. Your credibility of the man is the main thing, you see. Credibility is one of the biggest things, you see. Ability and able to help. Ability and able to help.
Thank you, sir.
That usually we relate leadership to some kind of dominance in the current modern era. We feel that some leader who maybe not in general terms of people who are in the army, but people who basically run companies, who are like essentially leaders of global chains throughout the world, they are people who dominate the entire industry. Now, keeping that in mind, when we talk about empathizing with someone or even them empathizing with their workforce, let's say if I'm empathizing with someone who's my junior, how would that, because I feel that at a certain point of time, that would hinder the entire organization or something that I have established from moving forward. Because while connecting to people who I need to empathize with, it still is stopping me from moving forward to a direction that I would want, whatever organization it is, to go forward. So how do you think that empathy would either complement that or, there's a limit to it?
General Malik?
No, you...
Anyone, to anyone.
You see, wherever there is a hierarchy, please understand that in a system where there is a hierarchy, there has to be one person who has to give the instructions and directions, and those directions have to be carried out. Now, even that person who is the senior most in that organization, say the CEO or the managing director of a big corporate house. Now, if he has to have a team getting the results what he expects or she expects, after all organizations are there for achieving certain objectives. Those objectives have been already laid down. If those objectives have to be achieved, the total cooperation, everyone becoming a team, is very, very essential. And unless the top man has the empathy, you see in foreign countries, all organizations, people speak to each other on first name basis. Even the Safai wala or somebody who's at the lowest level will call the CEO as, "Hi Smith, how are you?" and things like that. And the other thing is, in creative organizations like designing, IT professional and things, there the hierarchy is blurred. There is hardly any hierarchy. In creative organizations, people are almost at the same level. They are, at the equality of kind. And the lesser the hierarchy, the better it is. There is no doubt about it. Yet, if you have to achieve some results, there has to be some kind of hierarchy, provided the top man understands that he has to run a team and he has to take everyone along. Sorry.
I don't know. Let me put it. I mentioned to you that leadership is 75% dealing with people, right? Knowledge is there, but in addition, 75%. And it's not my quote, incidentally. It's based on research that I said. Now, in dealing with your people, you have a team. Let's say you have amongst the teachers here, there would be hundreds of them. If somebody has got some problem at home and he or she asks for leave or asks for certain this thing, and the ready answer is always is no, no, no. You think that leader will be popular? So, as I said, it's reading your mind. You'll be surprised, during Kargil war, I had nothing to do with firing which was going on. People were there to fight. The youngsters were there, the Jawans were there, the JCOs were there. But I went there every 6th day only to ask, "Kaise ho? Sab theek hai? Can I do something for you?" That's it. I mean, somebody said, "Ke sir, hamara ration jo hai wo," not that nobody said that to me, but I'm just saying, he may say कि मुझे हम लोगों को राशन नहीं आ रहा या मेरी चिट्ठी नहीं आई है, something like that. But these are all minor things. But the point is that as a leader, if you are not seen as an empathetic leader, you will not be the good leader that you want. So it's a question of, put the whole thing, question of how you deal with the people, men and women who are part of your team. And this hierarchical business, thoda sa usko kam karo. Today you don't really start giving orders or throwing punishment at people. Today you have to read their mind, then carry them with you. Sometimes they require your getting angry. Sometimes they require some little bit of danda also. But all the time danda and no sympathy will not make you a good leader at all.
A good leader connects with people, and you also connect with the people. You feel comfortable. You see, just as you are students, you feel comfortable in the company of some teachers. You see, sometimes you don't feel comfortable. When you feel comfortable, then it's okay. And that is, you see, that there's a vibe between both of you. Because you feel comfortable and you understand each other. Next question.
Thank you, sir.
One or two more. One or two.
Namaste, everybody. My question would be to Shri Vivek Atray, sir. Sir, I would like to ask you, is leader minus empathy a boss?
Leader minus empathy, a boss. So it's very difficult to make equations out of life. Maths is not applicable here. So let's say minus and plus is a part of life, but the word boss has negative connotations at times. So I have a chapter in my book, Handling Difficult Bosses. I had to add the word difficult. Had I just said handling bosses, it doesn't give that right picture. So a person who doesn't have empathy is definitely a less of a leader. There's no doubt about it. General Malik said it's one of the traits, but an important trait. And boss is not really a very good word for a leader. However, if he's bossy, bossism is there, then definitely he's taking away from his leadership. So he needs to be a good leader rather than just a boss. That's my feeling.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. God bless you.
May I ask a question?
Ma'am wants to ask a question. Sure.
I just read a quotation of the Dalai Lama. He was asked, "What is your religion?" He said, "I have only one religion. My religion is compassion." My question is, what is the difference between compassion and empathy? Does compassion mean acting on the empathy, and empathy mean only understanding? If anybody could help.
I think you said it very well.
Yes.
Compassion is acting on empathy.
I know. Legally, if you interpret it, sympathy and compassion is only one-way thing. It is not everlasting. So empathy is something where you get into the heart of the other person, find out what his problem is, and then try to deal and tackle with it. That is the difference. Yes. You get into the heart. It's like trying to find out what kind of empathy Putin has for his soldiers that he's sending into Ukraine.
Compassion is Dalai Lama's compassion.
That's compassion, and sympathy is very similar. It's treat everybody sympathetically, compassionately, but
Thank you.
empathy, especially when you're a leader, makes a huge difference.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you very much. It was very nice to be here with you all, and wish you all the best. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. My sincerest thanks to our honorable panel for being so patient and dedicated throughout this question answer round.
Now I would like to invite Madam Principal to address the August gathering and propose a note of gratitude.
My warm namaste to this August gathering. General V.P. Malik, sir, Shri Vivek Kapoor, sir, Shri Vivek Atray, sir, Shri Max Sarin, sir, and our very scholarly founder chairman, Shri Kulwant Singh, sir. Amar Kulwant, ma'am. We had Irfan, Anshuman, and Hershey. Teachers and my dear students. It is customary to propose a vote of thanks when you conclude an event. But to me, it is more of a note of gratitude and an opportunity one gets to express the deepest appreciation one has for others. Suvichar, the think tank, is a very noble initiative created to promote thought leadership. It's a forum which works to give back to the society and help the city of Chandigarh as well as its surroundings grow and prosper on a global level. When Mr. Vivek Atray gave me a call to organize a session for our students in collaboration with Suvichar, the think tank, I was very receptive to his idea. And that is how, after deliberating it with our chairman, sir, and my team of teachers, Ms. Divya and Ms. Neeraj, along with student committees, we organized this 2-day leadership summit. Thank you, Vivek, sir, for giving our school an opportunity to organize this event, and chairman, sir, the permission to flag it off. The theme for the day, the power of leading with empathy, reminds me of an anecdote from the life of our former president. A group of scientists at DRDO were working on a very hectic project, and all of them were actually frustrated because of the work pressure. but none of them left the project because they were very loyal to their head. And one day, a scientist came to his head and requested him that can he leave today a little early at 5:30 p.m. as he has promised his children to take them to an exhibition that day. His head said, okay, you are permitted to leave the office early today. The scientist, as usual, went back to his work and he resumed it. And after lunch, he got involved to such an extent in his work that he forgot the promise he made to his children. It happens at times when we are in work, we lose the sense of time. And when he saw the watch, it was 8:30 p.m. He looked for his head around, but he wasn't there. Deep within him, he was feeling guilty for having disappointed his children. He reached home, children were not there, and his wife was sitting in the hall reading a magazine. He asked her, where are the children? She replied, you don't know? Your manager came at 5:15 p.m. to take the children for the exhibition. Now, the manager or the head has saw the scientist working very hard that he himself decided to take the children for the exhibition. And do you know who this was? This manager or the head was none other than Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who didn't want the promise to be broken, a promise made by the father to his children. Now, is it that how we define leading with empathy to be? Empathy is actually a word which is less understood and more misunderstood. But sir, today your thoughts on the power of leading with empathy have not only given better understanding, but also added dimensions to the perspectives of these young learners. To stop thinking about only yourself will be the first step towards empathy. To listen to someone who wants to be heard is also empathy. Who wants to be heard is also empathy. Part of being grateful for what you have is practicing empathy. When you become thankful, you will start thinking about others. Thank you, Vivek sir, for these words. Your thoughts and courage makes you what you are. Your advice to keep your habits clean and thoughts clean and connect with is what makes you stand apart from others. Thank you, Vivek, V.K. Kapoor sir, for your thoughts on leading with empathy. Your capacity to deal with persons is what makes you a leader. Thus, three words, please, thank you, and sorry, are the three ingredients to bring out the leadership qualities. Treat people with polite words. It will make you feel so connected and a great leader. And that is what leadership is all about. And sir, your thoughts shared through that anecdote of Run Vijay, in fact, has inspired us to start such practice here as well. Thank you so much, Sarin sir, for your kind words. 25% is the knowledge you acquire, and 75% is how you deal with people is what make you a leader. How you interact with people is an important aspect for leadership. Empathy is an important trait, but not the only trait of leadership. Your leadership lessons from Army are great inputs to develop insights for our young learners. The ability to talk to the level of the person are practical lessons to practice empathy day in, day out. If someone is without smile, give him or her your smile. Thank you, General Malik, for enlightening and inspiring our young learners. And I'm so sorry for that sequence, You were called first and then asked to wrap the session, because I really wanted Chairman sir to be here when you speak out, at least. Bhavan has always strived to give the best of the learning experiences to the students. I feel indebted to the organizing committee of Bhavan, which comprised of students and teachers, to make this event relevant and appropriate with its themes, creatives, and execution. Our compares, Ambika and Nirmit, have kept the audience engaged throughout with their remarkable presence at the podium, while our tech team of Manas and Tanmay presented beautiful videos to set the stage for deliberation. Shaurya, Rehmat, and Sanji, your inputs on the topic were highly contextual. My congratulations to you all. How can I forget to thank the art department and the support staff for giving us this clean and concedable ambience, the technicians for the sound and light, and the photographers for capturing these wonderful moments. I also want to express my gratitude to our chairman, sir, and members of the Kendra committee who have always unconditionally supported our initiatives and have been a guiding force behind. It couldn't have been possible without you, sir. Thank you so much. Amar Kulwant, ma'am, your presence inspires us. It's so contagious. Thanks for being there always. The Vice Principal Sonia Pabbi and Headmistress Anita Ranjan have been my great strength, along with my teachers and all portfolio holders. My office staff and my PS also deserve a special mention. My thanks to all, if mentioned or missed. I hope this event, which concludes on a positive note, create ripples of good vibes and thoughts amongst all of us. Together we grow and set standards and benchmarks. Thanks and God bless.
Thank you, ma'am. We young Bhavanites are blessed to have Chairman Sir and ma'am today among us on the final day of our Leadership Summit. I request Founder Chairman Mr. and Mrs. Kulwant Singh Ji to present a token of gratitude to our esteemed guest speakers. I also request Madam Principal to escort Sir and ma'am. A great round of applause. We invite Vivek Atray, sir, to take the token of gratitude. A great round of applause. Yes, ma'am. The next in line is V.K. Kapoor, sir.
Now I invite Mr. Sarin, sir. And finally, I call upon General V.P. Malik, sir. A huge round of applause for sir. I invite the team present from the think tank Suvichar to kindly come forward and accept the token of gratitude from Madam Principal. A huge round of applause for Colonel D.S. Cheema as well. He was present with us on day 1 of our Leadership Summit as well. Thank you so much, ma'am.